Good afternoon. This is Coach Quinn, or Miss Quinn. I'm Lynette, and I will be helping Coach Quinn with 8th grade science data analysis on the first 9-week exam. So first of all, we went ahead and printed out a full 9-week exam so we can look at the TEKS and the way the questions are being asked. And then we went ahead and printed out a document known as our DDI, Data Driven Instruction PowerPoint presentation. And we went ahead and printed out so that we can go ahead and notate exactly which TEKS are strong, which TEKS are weak, and we're going to break down each question for her group of students. So we went into Eduphoria, which is the software that we use to assess students for any exam or quiz. This is going to be Coach Quinn's student learning standard breakdown. So she had a total of 111 students that tested on the first 9-week exam. It broke each TEK down, and it's giving us the percentage of the how many kids did correctly answer, didn't correctly answer as well. And we went ahead and printed out each class period so that we can see what are the specific needs per class period as well. So Coach, we're gonna go ahead and look at your data for your entire student population on 8th grade, 111 students. So we're gonna go ahead and look at the test. So if we're looking at the test, we're looking at question number 1. Question number 1 was TEK 8.8, which is 8.8 is going to be discussing galaxies and celestial objects of the Earth, components of the Earth. So the first question is talking about the galaxies. And if you look at question number 1, TEK, this one is talking about, oh darn. So we're looking at this TEK 8.8A. 8.8A, 73.87% of students answered that question correctly, or any question that was under that TEK correctly. So we printed out per TEK. So on this test, we have how many questions on that TEK? So we have only question 1, question number 7, question 1 and 7. And there was a total of 20 questions on this exam. 1, 7, and number 20 were that TEK. Do you want to print out per question? Or do you prefer by TEK like this? Or do you like to go by question?
It don't matter.
We can go by question. We're going to go ahead and switch by question because we only printed by per TEK. So instead we're going to print by question, so that way we can just go through the entire test as one. Let me see. Individual responses. And on Eduphoria, it's very easy to see or to separate the data per question, or if you just want to look at the TEKs, or even if you want to break down per demographics, you can also do that. So let's go ahead and print out per question. That way we can go in order. This is for your first period.
Right.
Or for your first class. We want to do the entire population.
Oh, okay.
That way we could see.
Okay, because I have, yeah.
Reporting category.
Each class, okay.
So we have reporting category, but we're going to go ahead and do the breakdown per question. Individual responses. And then those are the benefits of Eduphoria. You can look at all this.
Okay.
See, here we go. This is what we're going to look at. Question 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And then you can look at your specific demographics later.
Okay.
And this is where you can also see your SPED population, your LEP population.
Okay.
And see who you want to work on the most. So we're going to export it to PDF and then print it.
Okay.
Perfect. Let me print it for you. Okay.
Oh, that's small. I don't know if we can do that.
And then, so in our data-driven analysis worksheets that our campus leaders have created for us, this will break down each question, and then we can go ahead and fill in the SE, the question number, and then the correct response, the percentage of the correct response, and the percentage of the incorrect responses, so we can see if there's any misconceptions that we need to address as we go. So we're going to go ahead and look at question number 1. So we're looking at her entire student population for 8th grade only. So for question number 1, it was addressing TEK 8.8A, which is components of the universe. And if you look at it, you can see what's the percentage that chose A?
0.9.
0.9. So you're going to go ahead and put A, 0.9. So you know that a very little amount of students chose that one. B was
12.61.
61. And for C?
4.5.
4.5. And for D?
81.98.
81.98%. So as you can see for question number 1, 81.98% of the 111 students chose the correct answer.
Right.
And the correct answer was D. So you can say, okay, perfect. You can write it on your test. So we need to reflect back on the questions. You can see how the question was asked and see how many chose, what's the percentage that chose the correct answer. So that's a very strong, students performed very strongly on that question. We always try to strive for 71% and above, okay? Once they start dropping below that 70% is where we get concerned. All right, so for number 2. So, and we're filling it in as we're going along, so that way we can type it in and submit it to our active campus coach. So number 2, question number 2, it's 8.10C. And if we're looking at our blueprint for our assessment, which we have on our computer screen here, we're trying to multitask with different documents. So that TEK is talking about 8.10C, correct? That is identifying the role of the oceans in the formation of weather systems such as hurricanes. So if you're looking at number 2, how many answered A? What's the percentage that answered A?
77.48.
77.48. And for the B?
5.41.
5.41. And for C?
9.01.
And for D?
8.11.
8.11. So if you look at number 2, the answer is A. As we're looking at our answer sheet, we went ahead and printed our answer sheet for the test, so we can confirm that that is the correct answer. And we can also see the TEKs. So that one is F, and 77.48 did choose the correct answer of the 111 students. So that's awesome. Let's go ahead and look at number 3. Number 3 is 8.10. Once again, it's addressing how hurricanes are formed. And for number 3, what is the percentage for A?
5.41.
5.41.
Then B is 28.83.
28.83.
C is 57.66.
Okay.
And D is 8.11.
8.11. So for number 3, the correct answer is C. Okay. And as you can see here, this TEK was right there. It's pretty much our bubble TEK here. So for A, 5.41 chose the correct answer. For B, 28.83 chose the correct answer. For C, 57, and that was the correct answer. 57.66. So, and then for D, 8.11. And what we're doing for the test is we're going to the question, and we're also putting the percentage of students that chose that answer, so that way we can visualize it rather than just writing the data down. And as you can see, Coach, for B and C, there was a misconception. So a lot of the students chose Illinois because
They got confused.
they're getting confused with warm front and cold front. So on our data analysis worksheet, it even gives us the option for that question to decide whether it was a careless mistake, guessing, misinterpretation of the question, misread the passage, partially answered, incorrectly applied skills, or other. So here we're going to go ahead and put that they misinterpreted the question because they're getting confused with global patterns, and they're confusing warm front and cold front. So that's something that we can address in RTI when we return from our intersession break. So let's go ahead and look at number 4. Number 4 is discussing 8.8b, that TEK, and 8.8b is discussing that the sun is a medium-sized star located in a spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, and that the sun is of many thousands of times closer to the Earth than any other star. So let's go ahead and see what the percentage is. So for number 4, what was for A?
35.14.
35.14.
Then 16.22.
16.22.
Then 4.5.
4.5.
And then 44.14.
44.14. All right, Coach, do you want to go ahead and talk about this one and what you see?
Yeah, so the correct answer was 44.14, so it's J. The sun is much closer than the other
Correct.
stars.
Okay.
And then the closest answer they chose was F. That's at 35.14, and that answer is the sun is much larger than the other stars. And then the next closest answer was G, 16.22. and that was the sun is much hotter than other stars. And I think for me, I don't think I necessarily went over about the sun in relation to the other stars. Oh, it's hotter, or it's bigger, or it's brighter. We just kind of went over a general description on like, oh, it's in the middle. This is the classification of stars. So I didn't specifically hit, something specific like, oh, this is what you're going to need to know.
So if we're looking at the teak, it's saying that the sun is the one that is being used as the medium star located in the spiral of the Milky Way galaxy. So we're constantly comparing other stars to the sun. So we're going to say, if you look at the HR diagram, we're always talking about, is the sun brighter or dimmer or hotter or colder? So you're using the sun as saying, is this star brighter than the sun, or is it dimmer than the sun? Is it hotter than the sun, or is it colder than the sun? So that the sun is your reference point. So we can definitely work on that in RTI. Okay. So addressing that the sun is used as it's the comparison. That's why it's the average star. Okay. So if we're looking at RT, what would you say? Is it guessing, careless error, misinterpreted the question, misread the passage, partially answered the question, or incorrectly applied skills or other? What do you think? I would say other because
I would say, like, I didn't specifically say let's always pinpoint the star,
right,
or the sun.
The sun.
So yeah.
So the sun as a reference point. Sun as a reference point. Sun is your reference point. So we can do. Awesome. Okay. So now let's go to question number 5. All right. So question number 5. Let's see. What is your percentage for A?
3.6.
Okay.
Then B is 71.17.
Okay.
C is 10.81.
Okay.
And D is 14.41.
Perfect. Okay. So your kids are right there at 71, where we could definitely get them to meet and masters on that question. So this one, what do you think? This one is addressing this one's talking about the northern hemisphere, and it's is shortest when the North Pole is tilting away from the sun. So the length of the day. And during which month did this occur? This is 8.7a. So this is talking about the modeling and illustrating of how the tilted earth rotates on its axis, causing day and night, and revolves around the sun, causing changes in seasons. So many of the students did choose B, 71%. So they're right there. They can approach that. So what do you think we could do differently?
I think for us, it's just showing it from different perspectives, like using the flashlight, reminding them that like maybe it's the arrows that confused them. Maybe they don't understand that the arrows mean the sunlight. So just reviewing that for those that might not understand from a different perspective.
So maybe more practice, more independent practice, practice and different perspectives. Right?
Yeah.
So before, so as you continue to go through this, Coach, and you look at all the teaks, we can go ahead and go back to that first worksheet that you printed, where it shows the teak breakdown rather than the question breakdown.
This one?
No, it was the individual breakdown. Like it had the teaks. I think it might be. No,
this one.
Yes, that one. Okay. So we're gonna look at the teaks. This is breaking down the teaks now rather than just the test questions. We're gonna go ahead and pinpoint your strongest teaks and your lowest teaks. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and do green for the strongest and then orange for the weakest teaks. So your strongest teaks here, I would say would be 8.10B, which was at 71.27% and 81.08%. Those and 73.87%. So your strongest teaks, we're gonna put them in order: 8.10C, 8.10B, and 8.8A. 8.10C is going to be discussing the hurricanes. 8.10B is talking about global patterns. That's really good. And then this is components of the earth. 8.8A. So let's go ahead and highlight your lowest teaks, your 3 lowest, and it's going to be the 8.7B. 8.7B at 45.35%, 52.25.
And
then I would say 60.36. So let's write those teaks down. 8.7b, 8.8b, and 8.10a. All right, so let's go ahead and look at your lowest teak. So 8.7b is predicting the sequence of the lunar cycle. So lunar cycle. 8.8b is going to be that the sun is a medium-sized star. And 8.10a is going to be that the convection currents. Okay, Coach. So as we finish this off, just keep in mind, knowing what you did for your strong teaks, try to implement that with your weak teaks. So that way they can go ahead and start getting those numbers to approaching percentages. This will continue on, but this is just the beginning of how we dissect data for all assessments.